My dad was tracking back through past December tragedies in our family over the years. From his mother dying to his brother almost dying in an accident that damaged the car beyond repairs. And then the last one being 10 years ago, where his last brother died. And interestingly, before that my uncle died, he saw a similar vision to the one my dad got this same time, days or weeks. Even one of us, our brothers, I don't know if you testify how his mother called him that morning, woke him up from sleep or so and called him by his name and said, "Ooh, that is, you will not die. This is the morning of the accident." This woman comes into our lane, I'm trying to dodge her, and I think I horned, and the next moment she's coming back. I didn't know how long I was unconscious after the impact, but from the stories I heard, people thought I was dead. So I remember the last thing I remember before waking up to my body in pains and being in the situation they were trying to rescue me. I remember going, "Oh wow, accident." I'm here to thank God for literally keeping me alive to see this new Gregorian year. This is not one of those I'm thanking God I'm alive to see this day. This is a literally alive. And I'm here to give God thanks. So it's quite a lengthy read. I hope I can just stick to the script. So it's no longer news to anyone about the accident that happened with the church bus on our way to Eket for a school outreach. In the hospital, if you go to the hospital and ask, you just say driver, medical student, boss, they will know it's me. So I'm the driver. I am the driver. And I am thanking God for preserving my life and the life of many others. Looking back after the accident, hearing the different confirmations and God speakings, both in-house and even from outsiders, like my parents, it seems apart from the leadings, he also began to assure of some victories. I'm grateful to God who is kind and does lead us, showed God was with us, and even with the plenty provisions, the care, the plenty help that came, the arrangement he put in place before that day, it showed God is with us. So I'll start with some visions and spiritual insights. My dad was tracking back through past December tragedies in our family over the years. From his mother dying to his brother almost dying in an accident that damaged the car beyond repairs. And then the last one being 10 years ago, where his last brother died. And interestingly, before that my uncle died, he saw a similar vision to the one my dad got this same time, days or weeks or so before the accident. I can't remember exactly the time now. The vision was basically seeing himself walking naked on the street. But this time he saw the same vision. Before my uncle died, he just saw himself walking naked and he was wondering what that was. I think he said that morning or so he got a call, or the next day, and my uncle was dead. And this same time he saw me. No, not me. He saw himself again, walking naked. But this time around, someone called him and gave him clothes to wear. So, of course, that was already speaking of God covering his nakedness, shame. Because if anything had happened, truly, I think that really affected my father. For those of us that were in the hospital when my father came, the man sat on the ground and put his hands on his head. He told me days or weeks after that he's still trying to recover from the shock of losing his first child. And so there was even a vision he said he had about a month or so before the accident, where the bishop of his church group told him that this year is a turning point for him, that you have a turning point, something of that effect. At the time he was thinking financial, because we have quite some financial issues at home for quite a while, a good while. And so he was like, okay, finally God will bless me with money. No, but he didn't. He's looking back that he was linking the turning point of the December, even though this accident was in November, so let's say the ember months, like some Ember month tragedies. So he also recalled just lying down and seeing a writing on the wall saying only Jesus saves, and he's wondering, my dad is a pastor, so he's like, I know that Jesus saves now. Why am I seeing Jesus, only Jesus saves? So again, all these different, divine interventions or consolations ahead was a sign of victory ahead of time, and it was interesting to see how much the Lord was already beginning to be involved and assuring of different things. I even from our brethren here, I got to hear of a brother, one of the people under my care, and how he said that morning of the accident, he woke up and had this very strong body, and he just kept praying for the longest time. He didn't understand what was happening. He didn't know what he was praying about. He came with this grief and sadness, only to hear later about the accident, and he was like, oh, okay, that's probably what the Lord was laying on his hands to heart to pray about. Even one of us, our brothers, I don't know if he will testify, how his mother called him that morning, woke him up from sleep also and called him by his name and said, that is, he will not die. This is the morning of the accident. So there was just quite some clear-cut leadings and help and assurance that God was with us, is with us. And I'm very grateful for that. Now to the accident and the rescue. Recalling the event of the accident, I'm sure we've heard it different angles. I'm not going to go through the details of course, the driving and the other SUV Fado coming into our lane, and I'm wondering what's happening here. Nowadays, if I drive on the road and see someone doing that thing, I'm like, I catch you. You're almost like, move. I rebuke you. Something. I thank God. Let me pause and just thank God that I didn't have the fear of driving after, because again, I wasn't. Very funny thing, after the whole event, I didn't. You know how you're going through this. It's when people tell you, or you look at the realities of what happened here, or you watch the video and you're like, okay, this thing was this serious. Because to be honest, in my mind, I'm like, okay, what just happened? It's like a flash in the pan or something. So I'm thanking God. I didn't have fear. I didn't come out with the whole event with the fear of driving. I think the next week I was driving. I drove a bit to the hospital, with my neck collar and all of that. But back to the story. This woman comes into our lane. I'm trying to dodge her, and I think I horned. And the next moment, she's coming back. So picture someone comes into, you're dodging, then you horn, and she comes back. So it's difficult to. So I remember the last thing I remember before waking up to my body in pains and being in the situation they were trying to rescue me. I remember going, oh wow, accident. Because it was so real, like, this young lady, you have just gone your way. I would have gone my way. You came back, later on I heard she was pressing her phone while driving. I don't know how. But I didn't know how long I was unconscious after the impact. But from the stories I heard, people thought I was dead because I had passed out by the steering. The dashboard was damaged. The shift had shifted forward towards the chair. The driver's seat had bent forward towards the crushed dashboard. That's what happened. So, to the miraculous survival. So I was in this small space that I believe an angel of the Lord put me in, because if you understand, the dashboard is crushing towards you, the chair is crushing towards what's the space there? So there was just a small space I believe the Lord put me in, because looking at the odds, how my knees were bent like a child in a womb. So that's the scripture. It's like he preserved me like a child inside the womb. And because if my legs were straight, normally as it would be on the accelerator and the brake, if it was just there, I would have lost my legs, because that whole place was crushed. And I'm thanking God for this footwear. If I was not wearing a shoe, my feet probably would have been crushed or sustained quite some serious injuries. It's a miracle my shoe is still intact. So this is the shoe I wore. Thank you, Lord, for preserving my shoe. So I think because I felt the weight of the damages on my feet. When I came back, I was feeling the weight of the whole thing on my feet, and particularly my right feet. In fact, to be honest, I didn't even know how. I had an injury on the back of my right foot. I don't know how that happened, but that's just to show how much I believe God protected my lower limbs. So it was truly God, the angel of the Lord, that put me in that position. I don't know how that thing happened. It can only be God. If I wasn't on seat belt, as we've been taught, I'd have probably damaged my face, my chest. Even with that, the way the dashboard crashed towards me, so that's why people thought at first that, because as if part of it was on my face. So you would think, even myself, when I came out, I was just, that feeling. The left part of my face is probably crushed, or I could feel the weight, the pain, the swelling. It was heavy. I could feel the bruises that were there. And I remember when I came out, I checked. I remember I was pain. I was just checking. Like, wow, okay. It was just the swelling I felt, and the bruises were not as much as the pain I felt. And that's something to thank God for, because I've had a disfigured face by now or something. I'm thanking God the injuries healed really fast. I had the injuries at most of them I felt were inside my lips, my mouth, and then there were just some scratches at the beard area. The beard covered. I resembled Elijah at the time, so you will not see much of the injury. But I'm thanking God all of that is healed, and God protected my face. You need the face for some ministry. Because of how tight the place I was. So every effort at the time to bringing me out was causing pain when I came back. So I was waking up to the axe, using an axe to hit the chair to bring me out. And so it's really tight. The space I was really tight. And so everything you do is painful. You are trying to shake the chair. That's the one I wanted to run mad. Like, you're shaking me across. They are hitting me on this whole crash system, So the kept trying, and my legs really hurt it, because of course how I was in that bent position. So the most of my legs were on the dashboard, and I was really in pain. I told them to stop being violent. They should stop shaking me. I should go easy. With the small energy I have, I said, stop. But it wasn't working. Every effort, it seemed at some point, all the efforts to release me was failing, and I was slowly losing it. When you're tired, I wasn't suffocating per se, but it was tight. You just make picture being so weak, you're dying of fainting, you're passing out. So my brain, everything was woozy. It's really tight. And that's when I uttered, "You're not like my Lord and Savior." He said, "It's finished." He said, "I am dying." I was like, "You guys, I'm dying." I remember that's how it went, because I was slowly passing out. I was losing it. It was tiring. I don't know how long it took, but from the little account, it took about 20 minutes. So imagine being in that space for 20 minutes or to 30 minutes for the longest time, and it was tiring. So I just prayed and asked God for help, and thank God for the provision and the wisdom I'm going to share on that came at the last minute to rescue me. That's something to thank God for. The rescue. So it happened as Brother Moses. Again, I didn't know these things. Brother Moses was really involved at the time in the rescue and others, but he was the one that narrated most of the audios. And it happened that in that area, people really came out. We thank God. Another thing to thank God for was the accident happened at the place where there were people. The road to AK, there are lonely areas and there are busy areas. So it happened at a busy area. So there were a lot of people that could come out to start assisting. That's something to thank God for. Then there was this barber nearby who, the story was that someone had told him to close his shop and go to church. And he responded. Now, I don't know if he was responding carnally or like people will respond. But of course, this day he was led. he told the person that he's doing the work of God here. I should leave him alone. Or something. I'm not, maybe he didn't say the leave me alone part, but eventually it was his generator we used to power the welding machine that cut me out from that place. So if the Baba was not, they were closed, where would they have found because good, people came out, the welder had gone to the shop, bought the cutting machine, whatever they used to cut me out. So if he bought it and there was no generator, when they bought it, the next thing was where a generator, and the next thing is the Baba is there with a generator that they used to cut. So I'm thanking God for that, because the axe was not working. They used 2 axes ahead. You kept one on the joint, used one to hit the joint. It wasn't working, and it was quite painful. So I thank God that it was a successful effort bringing me out, because there was also the fear of, was it fuel, was it oil leaking? And Brother Moses said, he told them, you should go ahead. If you explode, let it explode. that they should bring me out and all of that. And so I thank God it worked. I don't know where they kept the generator, and it worked without any explosions, because some people shared they were afraid. I heard one sister ran for her life. I'm also thanking God that now this is a big one. A pastor didn't change the bus seats to the kinds of seats we see in normal buses. You know that our church bus, again, those seats are not the normal seats. It's like a cushion. And the pastor was saying at the time, not too long ago, he was thinking of changing the bus seats so that it could give us more space. So that's what they do in commercial buses. Sometimes they buy it, that's not the seat that is there. And then they change it into those iron, those protector type iron with those sharp angle bars. So when accidents happen, sometimes what you see, those gory pictures you see, it's not just, the car just, the impact alone. And maybe it's the impact push people to those sharp things. So all those tearing of fleshes, all those people being cut almost into 2, all those ripping, those gory things you see. So it's the effect of those bars. You know, many of this leather with those iron bars, some of them are very scary, so long, so slim, not well done, all in a bit of lot of money to accommodate more people. And in the end, if an accident happens, it can be very gory. So I'm thanking God, because that accident that happened with a few injuries for different of our brethren would not have been funny. So if we would have had all sort of, in fact, beyond the more gory experience, I'm also thanking God that they had fixed the bus seats that morning. So the bus seat wasn't fixed. They had come back, they used it last night, it was late and they didn't fix things. So if they didn't take the time, they were trying to rush because we were actually late because of different factors, and just kept the seats like that without fixing the iron, because again, it's cushion like, but you have to fix those seats to the hook system underneath on the floor of the bus. So if they didn't fix the seats, of course, the seats will move, and with the moving, the impact would have been worse than what we experienced. But of course, not still compared to the gory angle bar type experience. So I'm thanking God for that. Thanking God that our pastor was led and did not change those seats. Thanking God for the other driver who was, already I said the female, the husband was thanking God that I heard from my dad. I don't know how he heard, but the husband was thanking God that she didn't drive the small car. I think she had wanted to drive the small car that morning or something. I don't know. I may be wrong. But I guess the impact would have been worse on her if it was a smaller car. Probably should have driven into us. That the bus would have probably crushed. Should have driven under the bus. Maybe it would have been crushed. She had her head bones were sticking out. I don't know. But again, these were rumors when I asked. But they said last I asked, they said she was fine. I think her life was preserved and she's in the hospital, and I believe and pray she's recovering fine. I'm thanking God for the people again that came out to help. The villagers, the strangers around, the Samaritans, all were quite helpful. I learned. They really threw in their efforts, and of course, people drove us to the hospital. I remember faintly, but after they brought me out from the place, and I was subconscious, so you're in between, consciousness and unconsciousness. And I remember as they moved me and kept me on the hillock, I think it was the hillocks. I remember checking my legs because that was my fear. That was my greatest fear. Oh God, with all the effort and everything. So even if they had brought me, I felt my legs had probably gone so numb because I wasn't feeling anything at some point again, almost not feeling anything. So I was afraid. I've suffered some nerve damage. Or again, I wasn't even seeing my legs, so because you're just there in that space, it's dark, it's like you're in a room, okay, and I'm wondering, okay, what's happening to my legs? So when I came out, I looked down at my legs, and they laid me on the hillocks, and I told my head, oh yeah, let's move the legs, let's check them. It said move one, it moved. I said, okay, it's moving. And I checked the second one, and it moved, and I was like, okay. I remember breathing a sigh of relief, and I lay down to sleep peacefully. Like, legs are secured. I checked first space. Okay, not so bad. All right, that we can work with that for now. At least whatever happens next, it's not as bad. Thanking God, of course. And yes, my brethren, I don't know who sent them, but thank God they saw the wonderful Ankara shade top I was wearing, said they wanted me to breathe. Because I was, of course, looking like I'm passing out. In my mind, I went, no, don't tear the shirt. Because I can remember them going, I'm like, no, stop it. I couldn't, of course, I'm so weak, I can't do anything. But I'm like, my favorite shirt. One of my favorite shirts, okay. And so they thought it for me to get air, all of that. But I thank God that the cloth is safe and sound now. It's the cloth you are looking at. Ta-da. So I did fix it up. God gave wisdom. I'm not losing you. I'm not going to let you go. So God gave wisdom. And I meant to tell her and say it's a lie. It's the shirt. I am keeping it. In fact, as God will, if I go back to that school, it's what I wear and go and preach. This is exactly how I dress, by the way, apart from the socks. I lost one leg of my socks, you guys. And I lost the cover of my bottle. Few things I lost. All that thing did I lose? Nothing else. I'm thanking God for my AirPods. Let me join. There is a young sister and there is young. My AirPods was tightly inside my pocket of this trouser. These AirPods is good. Thank God for keeping it. I didn't lose it. I'm very grateful to God. So this is what I look like with some adjustments. On admission into the hospital, so the hospital and healing process, there was all these fears from what they saw in the video. That, of course, the position you saw me in, for how long it was. So, of course, there were all these, according to the doctors, there were these fears of, and some nerve entrapment, because I was having some, how would I call it, not numbness per se, some tingling sensations, like shock sensations, those things sometimes you feel when you have a muscle pull, something of that sort. I'm trying to find the best way to describe it, but not exactly. So I was having that, my left part of my right feet, and I had muscle pain. That was sharp chest pain. Started from this, like it was from the back radiating to the front. So that's how it felt. So, and there was neck pain. So there was just all these fears of different things. So I think I ran the most expensive test. I did all the tests from X-ray to CT scan to, okay, that's not all, but the major ones did to MRI, magnetic, okay, MRI, just know it's MRI. You've seen those big machine type tests, you go in, you sleep there. I remember when they took me for a day, I just slept. It's very cool. AC, nice experience. I'm happy I could experience an MRI. I used to hear it, I read about it. I entered one, it's really nice, but be afraid of it, it's tight. You're afraid of closed spaces, you may have some issues. So you just sleep. And I ran 2 tests with the MRI, they brought me out and put me back in. The test went through a lot of money. I'm thanking God for provision from church and from God. Again, I'll get there. So the test came out and it was all fine. Surprising. No issues. So again, the doctors were like, okay, no issues. That's a bit surprising. And so of course, there's still something that happens in accidents sometimes, where after the event, you might have heard someone had an accident, they stood up, nothing happened, they dodged themselves, and then they went on with life. And then the next 2 weeks to some months, start experiencing headaches, seizures, just some symptoms, and sometimes, they died. It's consistent headaches, those kinds of things. So, of course, that was also some fear. That, okay, yes, this is clear, but what of that? So, I had to go back for a checkup 2 weeks later from the incidents. And I was told to watch out for the constant headaches, those things. I'm thanking God that, none of the after symptoms, because sometimes, like I said, you have those things, there are medical terms for it. I won't bore you with the names. But, so nothing is seen, but things are developing slowly after the impact. And then the symptoms get to be revealed after a while. I'm thanking God that none of that happened. I knew I did have some few headaches come and I would go, is this it? Now, God has helped me with headaches. If you know, I pray for headaches, and it's one of the things God has given me quite some grace for. Sometimes I pray for people over the phone. I've literally just typed text, okay, you are healed. And people say, oh, I'm fine, I'm better. So God has really helped me with headaches. So I would just go, it's a lie. You're not happy. Whether you are forming or not, I don't care. You go. And God helped. So the headaches are gone. The little ones that came wasn't much. And I'm fine. So I was placed on bed rest, on admission, and vitamins for nerve repairs, just body repairs. So just things could heal properly. To be honest, I didn't take those vitamins seriously today. They explained and I studied it up, the importance of that with trauma. I had forgotten. And I was urinating the color of my urine was yellow a lot for the longest time. So of course, that's when you have traumatic events. Sometimes that's like the body is purging out the impact of the accident. There are all these dead proteins that are being washed out and all of that. And so the recommendation was rest properly. You have to rest. We are not sure of things. We don't know what the impact is fully. So just rest, allow your body heal. And in my mind, I was thinking 2 weeks after the accident, I'll be fine. I'll start work. I was supposed to start my internship, but I was advised if you try it, you'll break down. And truly, I noticed it. I'm going to get there, So there was a lot of rest, something I prayed for. So I'm going to rest, family and recovery. I'm thank God for this period of rest. I'm not sure I've had this much rest in years. For those of you that know a bit of my life and my schedule, I will not lie, I rested. Now, it may not show much because some events have come in the past that have taken some of the small weight I gained. I did gain some weight. I was glad. I went and checked out. I gained 2 kg. I've been struggling to pass the 65 mark. I passed it. And the drugs they gave me for the painkillers were like knockout. So once you take it, just get ready to sleep. Like that was the normal thing. So I'm taking morning, evening. So I had to adjust because you take in the morning, next thing you are sleeping till the afternoon. You wake up in the afternoon, by evening you take it, you are sleeping till night. You wake up in the night, you are going looking around, let me just sleep again. So you sleep. So I rested. So those of you that saw me when I came back, my cheeks were swollen. I don't know if it's still swollen a bit, but there was some improvements. I had the opportunity to be with family. I went home, something I've not done in a very long while. Quite a while. I mean, we moved out from our place to our new place, and it's a bit far. And almost 2 years, I think I was just realizing when I went home that that's the first time I've been at home for more than a night. Because typically I'm just going home for a meeting or to pick something and I'm back the next day or that day. And so it was nice I'm thanking God for this, for some time with family, especially bond with my mother. We had quite this day, we spoke for hours, something she had been looking for. That she would often complain that I don't check up on her as she would. Now, but I'm thanking God for that. It was wonderful to talk. My dad, things we could, areas that has begun to set some pace for the next phase of my life. We began to talk about those things. So I'm thanking God for His help, His provision with food. I ate food. I am grateful to God. Now my body needed, I had to eat food. To be honest, I needed to eat food. And I'm thanking God for the provision because, of course, like I said, financial issues at home. So there was all these fears of, how would things be? But God really provided. So there was food and proteins to take, a lot of eggs. Thank God for that. I was indoors a lot, catching up on messages I missed because at the time, network issues at home was an issue. Power, very funny, when I went home, the power refused to come on for the first 2 days. I understood it was a sign because in the middle of this verse, I was looking for times to also reflect and spend time with God. Now, of course, a major distraction can be our phones. I'm involved in many things, so sometimes before you can come out of this stuff to focus, it's something God is helping us with. But as I went home, there was no light. First, it was like the next day. There wasn't light for the next 2 days. And I understood the message that God was trying to say, And I'm thanking God for the time I could have to reflect on things. It was quite an interesting season. The Holy Spirit, the voice of the Holy Spirit was quite close. And even up till now, different things He was doing, helping me. Lot of revelations, insights, revealing stuff, healings, deliverance. I remember just catching up on one of the meetings that the deliverance was happening, and I was having my own deliverance with things family-based. I was wondering, okay, these things were there, God, just stuff's being revealed. Some things I've been praying about that God should break in my life. God began to break it in that season. Some preparing my heart for some future battles, highlighting many things for the next phase of my life. A lot of which built into the core leaders retreat we just finished, which I'm thanking God for. It was quite a blessing. I'm just grateful for the time. So, to be honest, I don't think I milked it as much as I wanted, and I still wish for some time. But I'm thanking God for grace to catch up. I spent a lot of my time catching up with messages, but then God was speaking. I spent a week in the hospital and 1 week, a day plus at home. Came back. I had to come back for some duties, so I didn't forleave the entire rest episodes they wished, and that's the next lesson and thing I want to thank God for. So I had to come back to sort out some duties, church duties, work, and so of course I wasn't fully, but my body was all pumped. I was trying to prove the point that I guess I'm fine. I don't think I have that kind of thing, even though I also enjoyed the rest. It was just mixed feelings, but there was just the general body weakness from the trauma that lingered for days, weeks. And if I didn't get to eat or sleep well, I'd start feeling very weak. My body would literally feel like I'm shaking. Literally, I'll start shaking inside. I used to hear one brother say my body they shake when he's hungry. And I said, I understand now. Because literally, I'm shaking. I'm wondering, what's this? So, for people that were working with me at the time, I'd have to pause and tell them, I beg, excuse me, let me go and sleep. Because so that was one of the confirmations for me that, see, you're not ready to start internship. If you try it, you truly break down, So I was experiencing these body changes. So sometimes I would fight to it, you just see me moving around, but my body is shaking inside, So I'm thanking God that, very funny, I began to feel stronger after the fasting. So the fast, that was a significant fast we had. I remember telling myself, I know I want to give myself excuses. So I think I want to ask for some excuse. But I remember commenting to some people at Gamka when I was working that I don't know what happened after the fast. It seems I became stronger. Like I literally got stronger after the fast. And I'm thanking God that obedience is really a strategy. So you're looking for all sorts of things. The healing is just in what you think. But God began to heal me from obeying to just push myself a bit further and go through the fast, I remember that day, I was like, let me go and take drugs. Can I go and just eat something and take my drugs? But I was like, no, I felt this, trust God. So I'm thanking God, because who knows if I had gone through the whole, okay, I want to stay back at home and just keep relaxing and healing. I'm not sure I would have recovered I don't know again, would I have recovered as fast as I did? Because it was quite remarkable. It was very distinct. Before the fast, I was still having those periods. Then after the fast, it's as if it just went. I began to have some more strength. I'm really grateful to God for that, and I really want to thank God for our other brethren preserving their lives. We had a few fractures, hip dislocations, people had surgeries, mild wound dressings, but I'm thanking God for the quick recovery that many of our people have enjoyed. Everyone is out of the hospital. People are already standing on their feet. People are beginning to walk. I mean, it's fast. People are still but it's fast. Generally, I'm praying that God would continue to. That was my prayer constantly, because it felt quite weird. Of course, I'm the person that I was the driver. It's like the voice in my head at the time was, you don't carry people's children, go jam. So you drove, you had this impact, nothing is wrong with you. Your people are around you. So my oh God, so for a while, it wasn't so serious, but the voices would come, like, you carry people's children and go and jam and create injuries. There's nothing wrong with you. You've destroyed the church bus. I'm thanking God for his help with the voices. My little hypothesis was, I believe God, for me, my issue was probably my life. So I guess God preserved my life. For others, it would have probably been more severe fractures or stuff. So I think God also preserved them, and everything was less for the actual result each person would have had. And that's how God explained it to me, and I had peace. Thanking God for them and the different battles they had to face with school, work, and everything. Vote of general thanks. Thanking God for Pastor being very supportive. I heard of his engagements the day of the accident, really helping. Thank God for the quick attention by the doctors, everyone, pushed by our pastor, the circumstances God put in place before the accident, the provisions that came. God was really good. Thank God for Auntie and her support. She was like, yes, like the rest. Auntie, and the care. Thank God for everyone that came to visit, checked up on me, brethren that called. Thank God for the people that stayed with me. You guys are the MVPs. Brothers, Bright, Bright to Kofia, Promise, Timothy, Joel, Victor, they were really around. And everyone that came, but these guys really helped. Taking care of a sick person is not easy. It's a big deal. And I'm thanking God for the opportunities, the things we use our brothers to do. I stayed short in the hospital, but the things we began to do, the hospital evangelism that broke out, we started, again, I'll leave the stories for Brother Sam Morris when he comes to share. The devotions that awoke in the hospital that is still going on. Last I heard, started morning devotions. Thank God for everything. So in conclusion, I am here, better, stronger. At the time I was writing this testimony, I felt I was 99% back. There was this small percent that you still feel this, some wooziness, some weakness, the little pain, very slight, not so serious, but of course nothing to affect. People work with all sorts of things, endure all sorts of things. But another interesting thing, after the retreat, we fasted during the retreat again. So after the retreat, I realized I gained another strength. I don't know, it's like God is calling us to fast. I think there's healing in fasting in this season, healing from stuff, physical and spiritual. So after the retreat, the slight, because at the time I was typing this testimony, I would, if I'm really stressed, something, I would feel this slight, just the symptoms, very slightly. But I realized it was gone, because after the retreat, I was already testing myself. Before the retreat, I had gone through quite some stress. God was already beginning to heal me. How I knew I was getting better, I would keep some late nights, and I would sleep, I'll still wake up and I'll be fine. And sometimes I'm trying to fight to sleep again in the morning and it's not coming. Because it's like, stand up and do something. And I'm trying to work with that mentality. Okay, you need to rest. I Even when I went home briefly some days before the retreat, the instructions, as we know, be useful at home. Be useful at home. And I hope you will. I hope you went home and you not go and sleep and relax. So I went home and I looked around. Mom, I looked around. What can I do? And they are like, "Better go and rest." I'm like, "Nah, I would like to, And I found myself. I had to mop the house and clean up stuff. I mean, it was like a 7-hour stretch of work, and I was fine. I mean, yes, I was tired, but normal tiredness. I was fine. That was a sign for me. Okay, God is really. This is something. Came back. There was no water at Bethel. We had to go fetch water, and I joined, and all of that was testing myself, also, and it was quite fine. Yes, muscle pain came. You know that muscle pain that comes when you've not done exercise for a while, you've not gym. So it came. But God is good. God is really good. And I'm thanking God for all this, for every experience, what I believe was a turnaround season for me in different things. And I pray God helps me grow in the new life I have received physically and otherwise. In Jesus' name.
Thanks for watching. For more stories of God's transforming power as well as all the life-changing content, do check out the links in the description. Please do not forget to subscribe, like, turn on your notification bell, and share. God bless you.